And hey, everybody, welcome back to another live fasting check-in. I'm Dr. Dwain Woode, that's Wood with an E, and I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and take charge of your life. We're talking about preventing, we're talking about delaying, we're talking about reversing diabetes. Right now, I am 56 hours into my week 72-hour fast, and tonight, I want to speak directly to the science, not the mindset, not the reframe, not the pep talk, but just the pure metabolic physiology of what's happening in your body right now and why this specific fasting window that I'm in right now may be one of the most powerful interventions for people dealing with insulin resistance, diabetes, prediabetes, fatty liver, and other metabolic disorder. We're going to be talking about how fasting brings a dysregulated metabolism back into balance. And that's what we're doing tonight. Hey, if you're new to me, go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music. And let you know that we are glad that you're here. If you have questions as we go throughout the episode, go ahead and make sure you drop those in the comment and put a Q in front of that because we'd love to get to those. Let you know, hey, we love questions. We love to answer those questions. We love to get into it. We love to chop it up. And so we're excited that you're here. Whatever platform you're joining us from, whether it's LinkedIn or Twitch or Instagram or Facebook, and of course here on YouTube, we are glad that you are in this space. Yes, we've got some things that we're going to be taking a look at here in just a minute. I've got my monitors off to the side, my Keto Mojo and my Contour. I've got my Clarity report that's down below that we're going to take a look at and see what's been going on with my blood sugars over the last several days, and over actually since we saw you last night in our check-in when we did a 33-hour check-in. This week has been an incredible week for me. As you know, we are continuing our strength, strategy, and mindset series that's going on in the morning at 6 a.m. That's right, 6 a.m. That we come on. And if you followed us through the 100-day walk to consistency, and now you're following us through this series, you know that it's been a powerful game changer in our lives, setting up ourselves for success by giving us structure. When we talk about rhythm, alignment, and structure, setting up for the structure that allows us to help our metabolism. We are in the process of discussing and going through the Limitless Living Health Action Plan. And here, this week, we've been talking about fasting as one of those powerful tools. Now, this is on the heels of the fact that we've been fasting, many of us, for years. But we are now putting it in perspective so that you have a workable plan every day, some practical things that you can do that will help you with your metabolism. I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes, those who want to get off of medications, those who are interested in improving their health, but also all of those people that are on the metabolic spectrum. You heard me talk about high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high hyperlipidemia, people who have fatty liver, people who are obese, people who suffer from metabolic syndrome, and we can go on and on and on. But that's who I'm talking about. So if you're out there, glad that you're in this space, make sure that you're joining us for all of those different things that are happening on the channel. Let's go ahead. We'll come over in a minute and we'll talk to our community members that are there. But let's go ahead and let's take a look at some blood sugars and some numbers, right? So once again, 56 hours into this week's fast. And just so excited to be in that process. If you didn't watch our show last night, you got to make sure that you do that. As a matter of fact, if you didn't watch our Dwain Woode MD Live, our episode where we introduce fasting, you got to make sure you watch that. You got to make sure you watch our check-in last night. Of course, you got to make sure you watch this, and then you got to come back tomorrow as we do our complete review of fasting. In fact, here's let me tell you a secret. What you need to do is you need to watch all the shows. We did our series on the domains of health starting in the beginning of the year. We did our dysfunctional metabolism, what disrupts metabolism, and we've just been walking through the process. So I'm telling you each one that you want to watch, but you know what? Forget all of that. Just go back and start from the beginning and just start watching the shows, Dwain Woode MD Live, and you'll see where to pick up. But if you have somebody out there who says, hey, where do I start? then you want to direct them to our mini series that we're doing right now as we're talking through the health action plan. But let's go ahead and take a look at some numbers. Because this is very interesting to me and interesting to you, should be interesting to you. We'll talk about some of this as we get into our episode tonight. But right there, you see that? Right around there? That is my blood sugar. Right now, my blood sugar is 63, and you see the graph that's sitting right in that space. That is what my blood sugar has been, and you'll see, I don't know, maybe around 3-ish, 3:30 or 4 o'clock, we dipped right below 70, and you see the red part of that squiggly line right there. That is blood sugars that are below 70. Above the white part is blood sugars that are above 70, and you'll see for most of the day, my blood sugar actually has been riding less than 100. Okay, let's go ahead and let's take a look at what my Dexcom says. And the Dexcom, this is a G7, and you'll see there the 24-hour period. And what I like about this is I can actually put my finger on the graph and I can run my finger over, and you'll see what the blood sugars have been. So starting right around this time last night, right? So 9:13, we were 121, and 130, 121, 126, 127, 120, and then right around 6 a.m., there's my spike right there, right? There's the toothpaste, there's the waking up. And then I got up to 138. Got up to 143. And then started coming on back down and to where we are right now. Okay, so 104 is where we are. And you see, but for most of the last 24 hours, we've been less than 150, spiked up to 148 there this morning. But taking those away, we've been in 120s or lower. And then, of course, now with the 104. All right? All right, so that's what my numbers here are showing. Let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's take a look at my monitors. So I've got my Keto Mojo, and, of course, I've got my Contour. Let me grab from our handy-dandy container. We're going to grab a strip for ketone, and then I need one for blood sugar. There we are. And then I need a couple of lancets. I'm going to take a couple out because, as you know, sometimes one doesn't work, but we're gonna say, yeah, it is going to work. We're going to speak that into existence right now. And then go ahead and we're going to grab a strip for the Contour. And I actually have learned how to open these strips. Remember, we changed from the old style to the new one. So the old one was these big ones right here, and you just tore it straight across, and then we got these little skinny ones. And I was like, hey, how do you do that? But basically what you do is you grab it down the center. There's a little thing right here, and you pop it down, and there you go. So still a little awkward to get it out, but that's okay. All right, so that's my strip for the Keto Mojo. We got one into the Contour, and I'm going to go ahead and open up the ketone strip anyway and just kind of have that off to the side. Yay. All right, so there we go. Got that over there. And then grab a lancet, and you see that's my needle, and get a finger, and let's just pop that there. And ow, that one hurts. Ooh, ow. I think I pressed that a little harder than I intended. Okay, anyway, we got a good brisk drop there that came out. Get that in. That's the ketone. That's the Keto Mojo for the blood sugar. What do you think my ketones are going to be, by the way? So 56 hours. So 66 for the Keto Mojo. And then Contour says 67. And let's pull up. Let's do this one. There we go. And so right there, you say 103 for the Dexcom right here. And then let's go over to 63. So all of these three are actually keeping in the same vein. The Contour or the Dexcom is the one that's off. Let's go ahead and grab this out and pop this in. And while I'm doing this, just kudos to many of you who are out there who've been fasting with us. Over the course of this week, I did some pop-up lives for check-ins. and this is running. What do you think? What do you think? Somebody drop a guess. What do you think it's going to be for my ketones? So I did some check-ins. Oh, 1.6. 1.6. Hey. I think I saw some folks out there giving. But let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's take a look at my actual blood sugars on the monitor. And so you'll see there my average blood sugar over the last 14 days, 134. My glucose management indicator, which is a surrogate for the A1C, is 6.5. So if I were to get an A1C, that's what I would expect it to be, right around that number. And then, of course, my time in range is 93%. That is how much time do I spend in what the monitor set as the target, and the target right now is 70 to 180. Now, as I mentioned before, this can be a little deceptive because you can be at 180 up here somewhere. You can be at 180 and you could still be considered in target. But we do not want the target, we don't want your blood sugar to be at 180. We usually tell people that we want their blood sugars to be 100, 100 to 120, right? So that's terrible handwriting, but that's okay. I'm doing this with the mouse. So yeah, 100 to 120 is what we want your blood sugar to be. So even though this says in range, that is a requirement from the manufacturer, from the FDA, anyway. But we want numbers to be much closer than lower than that, because that gives us the A1C that we're looking for. Let's go ahead and take a look at actual blood sugars. And so here we are right now, and this is what you just saw on the monitor itself, right? So in the 1-teens, up here this morning, spiked up. I think we saw did we say 148 maybe? I thought that was the highest that we saw. So I think actually this showing 143 as the highest. Going back into, and so right here, right around 12:30 today, 12:23 actually, was 48 hours, and that was 108 at the time. For those of you who joined me during the pop-up live. And so going back now 24 hours, I was 116. And then 24 hours before that, when we actually started the fast, I was 130s, 133. Okay, so 124, 24 hours was when the 1-teens, and then today was in the 108s, right? So less than 110. And then if we keep scrolling back, so this was on Monday, and so Monday I was not fasting. It had been about 4 hours since I broke the fast, and the highest I think it got up on that day was 171. And this is why I tell you I think I wanted to change the Dexcom, which I didn't do, by the way. I just kept the same one. So the numbers that you're seeing here are on that same Dexcom, or did I change it here? I can't. No. Let's see. Actually, yes, I think I did, right? Because there's that 2-hour gap, and the reason I changed it was because I was getting these numbers that didn't make sense. When the other monitors were telling me that I was in the 90s to 100s, this guy was telling me that I was in the 170s to 200s. Okay. All right, and then of course going further back, once again, there are these high numbers. Okay. All right. So that is what my blood sugars are showing. And then, of course, one of the things that we do also want to take a look at is we want to take a look at my fit index. And my fit index right now is showing that my weight is 185.6. 185.6. And last week, I think at the end of the fast, I was 184, maybe 184. After the fast, the days after the fast, if you remember, my blood sugars, I think my weight got up to like 180, 88, 189. I think we were at 190 at one point. And as I got into the fast, now down to 185. Okay, so that's where we are. If we go and look at our graph, once again, if I look at the month, you'll see that we kind of fluctuated there. But what I like to, and at the end there we kind of had a little downturn, which is good. What I like to show is this graph, because what I want everyone to understand is that despite the fact that you may see blood sugars that are fluctuating, not blood sugars, but weight that is fluctuating up and down in your own experience, what we're looking for is we're not necessarily looking for an absolute linear relationship. What we're looking for is that over the course of your time, that the general trend is downward. And you'll see there that if we go back in my history, and I think that was like 260, and then we went down, we went up a little bit, so we went down I think to 236, went up to 245, right, went down to 229, went up to 240, and then started having, right, so we're going down into low 200s, low 2 teens, got down here to 179 at one point, and then popped up into the 190s, right, up here 197, 204 actually got back up, and then, right, continued that trend. So it is a process. So as you are working through your weight, as you're looking at weight, as you're looking at the things that are happening in your body, I want you to understand that we're not looking for, like, for today for you to be 200 and tomorrow for you to be 150. What we're looking for is a downward trend that is sustainable. And that's the key, the sustainable trend that you will see. All right. Now let's go ahead, and I want to hop over and do my check-in, and then we'll come over and say hi to our community members. And the check-in is how I'm feeling physically, mentally, and emotionally. Physically, mentally, and emotionally. And you will recognize those, if you've been following us, you recognize those as 3 of our domains of health. And when we did that series where we walked through the 8 domains of health, and here I like to talk about how we're feeling. How, if we're making changes, if we are doing things that improve our metabolism, how are we doing physically, how are we doing mentally, and how are we doing emotionally? How are those things affecting what we do and how we feel? So physically right now, feeling actually pretty good. As I mentioned, this week have been doing a better job of resting and doing a good job of hydrating, right? And so those two play a big part in how you feel physically. When you come back tomorrow, we'll talk about the complete review of fasting, getting into a fast, getting through the fast, and of course getting out of the fast, breaking the fast. But physically, I'm feeling good. I'm not feeling lightheaded, dizzy, sweaty. I'm not feeling palpitations. All of those would be things that I would feel if I weren't rested and if I weren't hydrated. And then, of course, the thought process follows what's going on in our physical body. And so if you're tired, if you're fatigued, if you're having all these other symptoms, then your thought process will follow that, and you'll not feel good, not feel like as though you're able to process and think, feel like you're in a fog, feeling like you're dull and you're not as sharp as you think you should be, right? Those things will happen. I'm not feeling that right now. And then, of course, emotionally, I am very excited because this has been an amazing week. We are tomorrow will be day 21, believe it or not, of our series, Strength, Strategy, and Mindset. I've been enjoying that. I have been seeing some physical changes that I've been excited for, that I've been wanting for a long time. The community is getting good benefit from that series. We're having people come in and join us as we are doing our check-ins for fasting. People are joining me as I'm fasting through the day and doing those check-ins. People are exercising. People are moving. Remember our Move campaign, right? So, I'll mention that in a minute. So our Move campaign, that's walking and strength training. Walking and strength, those are the 2 things that we talk about there. And then, of course, I was in New York with my family. Yay. And then this week, I've got a bunch of folks who are coming to town. And so I'm just pumped for all of that, and just so many good things. As a matter of fact, right before I came on, a good friend and of ours, good family friend, we might as well be a family member, just sent me a text and say, hey, we're in town. And so I'm excited about that. All right, so that's where I am. And so let's hop over now and let's take a look and let's say hello. Not take a look, but let's say hello to some of our community members who are out there. I see you guys. I see you guys there. So let's see. What do we have? So we have Pamela. What's up, Pamela? Pamela says hello, Dr. Woode. Hey, Pam. Glad that you are here. And then Bowie says hi, Pam. And Pamela says hi to Bowie. And Jennifer, what's up? Jennifer is in the house. She said howdy all. Howdy Jennifer from Bowie. And hi Pam. Or hi Jennifer from Pam. And then of course Gion just dropped in. Says hi doctor and hi Limitless Living Gang LLG. Hi Gion. Hi Gion. Everybody's saying hello. So Steve dropped the question in there. Steve, we're gonna highlight that question and come back to it. The green gingham shirt looks nice on you. So boy, he said, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. And then Bowie says hi to Steve. Hi, Steve from Pam. Jennifer says, okay, so this is guessing, thinking I was 2. So I was 1. What was that? 1 point. Oh, actually, I forgot. What was it? I think 1.6, was it? Okay, so we'll pull that back up. So Jennifer said she thought I was going to be 2, and Steve saying hello, ladies, and then of course Jennifer said, "Bet you feel so much better, healthier. Congrats." Okay, Jennifer, I think you're talking about the weight that was there. Oh yeah, much better. Feel much better. Feel healthier. And I was talking to, this weekend I was in New York. I was talking to someone and they were asking me, how do I feel? Because I did on the show, on the series that we're doing, the Strength, Strategy, and Mindset, on I think one of the shows, well, 2 of the shows now, I came on, had my shirt off, and he said, well, how did you feel doing that? I said, well, I feel much better now than I probably would have in the past. But if you've not seen that episode, go ahead and watch that. So that was just to show everyone as we're walking through this space what happens in the body when we are able to exercise and when we are able to be metabolically healthy. Okay? All right. So yeah. So glad that everybody's here. Thank you for joining me. Once again, if you've not joined me for the mini series in the morning, make sure you do that because we are moving and we are going somewhere. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and let's have our conversation on our topic today. And we are 56 hours in. We're talking about fasting and we're talking about metabolism, specifically talking now about all the changes that are going on in the body. So let's go ahead and hop over and let's do that now. All right, so we're talking tonight about how fasting brings a dysregulated metabolism back into balance. And that's our key. As we've said, that dysregulated metabolism, dysfunctional metabolism, is the thing that is at the base, is at the basic of all the chronic illnesses that we talk about. And even the ones that sometimes there's a kind of, does that fit into this? We'll see a connection here in a minute that really points out that dysfunctional metabolism is a huge issue. So what is metabolism, right? That's the first question. What is metabolism? And it is essentially the way the body converts food into energy. It is the process that it goes through. It takes the food that you eat, the proteins, the carbs, the fats, it takes all the micronutrients, and when you eat it, the body breaks those down and it takes those components and it puts it into different places. But ultimately, in order for your body to function, the body has to have energy. And it is the conversion of your food into energy that is the major function of metabolism. Because for energy, when we're processing, we need energy for our brains to think. We need energy for our hearts, for our lungs, for our GI system, for muscles. As I'm out doing weightlifting, as I'm walking, as you guys are going about your daily routine, you need energy for metabolism and or energy to function. And that process is what metabolism is. Now, we often talk specifically about the energy that we require to process, that is to run the heart and the lungs and the muscles and the kidneys and all those things. But not everything that we eat goes directly into energy. Some of it actually goes into creating structures, like the actual muscle, the actual heart, the actual nerves. All of those things come from the food that we eat. So it's not just energy. So dysfunction in any component along that pathway can cause problems. Anytime there's a deficiency, right? That's why deficiencies cause issues. Like if you have iron deficiency has downstream problems in your metabolism because the mitochondria, and that was the image on the intro little video that was there. That was a cell with a mitochondria in it. The mitochondria, that's the battery within the body that does all of the stuff. It is the place where everything happens. It is the energy source in the body. So when the food comes in, those substances now go into the mitochondria, and the mitochondria, different series, it converts that now into ATP, I'll say the word, you don't have to know that, but into energy, and that energy then goes to run everything else and goes to create the things that are in the body, okay? So let's begin with what the problem is. What does dysfunctional metabolism look like, right? So metabolic dysfunction is not just about weight. It's not just about blood sugar. It's about chronically elevated insulin, number one. Chronically elevated insulin. Because when the body has high insulin, that insulin is the thing that downstream causes the problem. And we've gone through that process and talked a little bit about that before. So high glucose levels, right, that spike after meals and they crash afterwards. That's dysregulated metabolism. That's not supposed to happen. Your body has the ability. It is designed for you to take food and for it to convert food and for it to give you a normal, constant source of energy without having those spikes. So we have people who have what are called reactive hypoglycemia. That is, they eat some carbs and 1.5 to 2 hours later, their blood sugar drops because their body has an abnormal response, has an abnormal shooting up of the insulin. The insulin is supposed to come out, but it comes out with such vigor that it overshoots the blood sugar, and then the blood sugar drops. And so these are people who a lot of times tend to have to eat every 2 to 3 hours, mostly 2 hours, because if they don't, then the blood sugar goes down. These are people who are having difficulty with food because they have to eat a high protein, low carb, frequent meal. That's dysfunctional metabolism. The inability to tap into your fat stores for energy. That's dysfunctional metabolism. You're not supposed to have to do that. Your body is supposed to be able to switch into burning fat. That's the purpose of fat. It is an efficient storage source of energy. And your body is supposed to be able to go back and forth between what I'm eating right now, and if I don't eat right now, it's supposed to go right into burning fat. And it can't do that. That's dysfunctional metabolism. So that leads to fat accumulation in the liver, right? And everybody talks about the liver, but one of the most dangerous places where fat gets collected is what's called visceral fat. So viscera, right? These are the organs that are in your body. And when we have excess fat, not only does it get stored in the places that we see, but it also gets stored around the organs. So imagine your heart encased with a layer of fat, your liver encased with a layer of fat, your muscles encased with a layer of fat. So that visceral fat is a problem because now we have some stuff that's around it that's not supposed to be there. So it accumulates in the liver, it accumulates around the viscera, the visceral tissues, and it accumulates around the organs. That's dysfunctional metabolism. When you have a constant craving, that's dysfunctional metabolism. You're not supposed to crave food. Food is designed for what? It's designed for energy. It's designed for you to enjoy it when it's there. It's not supposed to have that effect on you where you're having the craving. That is dysfunctional metabolism. When there's hormonal miscommunication between the brain and the gut and the pancreas and the liver and the muscles, so those are all the organs, well, not all, but those are a lot of the organs that are responsible for sending signals to each other that say, hey, he just ate something, she just ate something, let's go ahead and get it digested, let's produce some insulin in the pancreas, let's put just enough into the liver that we need, and let's send some to the muscles so the muscles can work. But when there's dysfunction, there's miscommunication between all of those organs. And these aren't just symptoms, they're adaptive responses that have gone wrong. So there's supposed to be elevation in the insulin when you eat food. It's supposed to go up, but it's not supposed to go as high as it did. You're supposed to store energy in the form of fat, but you're not supposed to store that much. You're not supposed to put fat in the liver like we do. You're not supposed to put fat around the heart and the liver and the lung and the kidney. You're not supposed to do that. That is when things have gone wrong. And here's what's important. Most of these patterns are reversible. That's right. That's right. But you don't reverse them with more food. You reverse them by giving the body space to rest. In comes fasting, right? You know that was coming. Okay. So what happens at 56 hours? What happens at 56, which is where I am, right? So this is a biochemical reset. By now, I've gone over 2 days without eating food. And this is where the metabolic switch becomes profound. Insulin drops. So fasting reduces insulin levels dramatically. Why does this matter? This matters because insulin is the hormone that tells the body to store glucose, to store fat, to store protein. Now, a lot of people think that, hey, I eat protein, so if I eat protein, I can't put on weight. No, 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 no. Anything that you eat, if that insulin switches on, anything that you eat becomes fair game for storage. So when insulin is always elevated, as it is in a lot of cases, why? Why is it elevated? Because we are constantly eating. Now, here's one of the conversations I have a lot with my colleagues, with my students, with patients, because we've been told that you should eat frequently. Now, I just mentioned a group of people that for whatever reason are forced to do that because they have a reactive hypoglycemia. So they are required to do that to keep their blood sugars up, okay? But the rest of us don't have to do that. But we do that all the time. We eat breakfast, and then we have a mid-morning snack. That's maybe 2-3 hours later. So eat breakfast at 6. Let's say mid-morning snack is at 9 o'clock, 3 hours later. And then 3 hours after that, lunchtime, noon, we eat lunch. And then we have an afternoon snack. It may not be a mid-afternoon snack. It may not be a planned thing, but we grab something's on the desk, we chew a piece of gum, we have some chocolate, we have some candy, we have some cookies, we pop a Tic Tac, right? We're putting calories in. And because there's this constant flow of sugar that's coming in, and when I say sugar, I'm combining sugar, carbohydrates, all those things in that word. Because there's this frequent meals, these snacks, this constant sugar that's in, it blocks fat burning because the insulin is constantly there. So there's no turning off of that switch. But by 56 hours where I am, insulin is at its lowest baseline. And low insulin is the gateway to healing. So 56 hours, insulin goes down, insulin drops. Number 2, glycogen is depleted. So the liver stores about 100 grams of glycogen, 100 grams of glycogen. That's maybe about 24 to 36 hours worth of fuel if you're not eating. And at 56 hours, we are well beyond that, right? So we're 20 hours. If we say, hey, it takes 36 hours, well, we're 20 hours beyond that now. And glycogen is virtually gone. And the body is relying primarily on fat for fuel. You're not now you're not dysfunctional. You are now in deep nutritional ketosis. Right, and you guys saw nutritional ketosis because less than 0.5 ketones is normal. 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis, and actually above that, above 1.5 is therapeutic ketosis. So in this space, I've moved beyond that. Nutritional, a lot of times people those numbers usually 1.5 to 2.5, right? So we're right over that right now. So glycogen is depleted. And then we supercharge with ketones, something called AMPK, and metabolic reprogramming. So let's talk ketones. So at this stage, the blood ketone levels are between 1.5 and 3, which you saw mine was 1.6. These ketones aren't just a byproduct, right? They're not just a byproduct. They are fuel because the body can use them. Specifically, the one that we're interested in is this guy called beta hydroxybutyrate. That feeds your brain. It stabilizes your energy levels, right? We're talking about these ketones. It suppresses appetite by reducing ghrelin, which is that hunger hormone. It enhances brain-derived natriuretic peptide or factor, which is like, I'd say it's like miracle grow for the brain. The cognitive clarity that you get at that point. But there's more happening at the cellular level. That's great. I love that. Yeah, no problem. But at the cellular level, what's going on? We're talking about dysfunctional metabolism and how it gets regulated again. So AMPK, right? AMP is an activated protein kinase. When it's fully activated, this is, think of your brain's cell's internal energy thermostat. It senses low energy, and instead of panicking, it reboots. This rebooting causes improved insulin sensitivity. So the fact that the body was causing insulin to go up because it couldn't process sugar, all of a sudden, the amount of insulin that your body makes is adequate, or it improves. One of the most challenging conversations to have with people is to try to get them to understand that as a type 2 diabetic, or as someone who is pre-diabetic, or someone who is overweight, who's obese, someone who has high blood pressure, high cholesterol, someone who has polycystic ovarian syndrome, you actually have more insulin in your body than someone who doesn't have any of those conditions. Let me say that again. If you're on that spectrum, if I check your insulin level is likely higher than someone who does not have metabolic disease. And the reason it's higher is because your body is having to basically, think about a doorway, right? So you're trying to get through a door and you're pushing the door. And on the opposite side of the door, there's somebody standing there and they're pushing back. Okay, there's no lock on the door. Let's assume it's just a door that swings both ways. But on one side, somebody's blocking the door and you're on one side pushing. Well, how do you overcome the person that's on the inside of that room? Well, you get more people to help you push. And if you get enough people to help you push, at some point you push through the door and that person on the inside is no longer able to to hinder you from coming in. And so what the body does is, if the blood sugar is continuing to rise, which it does, right? Because we're putting sugar in, and because we are putting on weight, and because we're becoming more insulin insensitive, the body says, hey, if I'm going to keep these blood sugars normal, I got to get the sugar into the cell. And if I'm going to get the sugar into the cell, then I need more insulin to drive it into the cell. So the body keeps making more and more and more and more. And for a lot of people, the blood sugars will stay normal. In fact, they say, if you look at the studies, when a person is finally diagnosed with diabetes, they have had chronically elevated insulin, chronically elevated or just slightly elevated sugar for about 5 to 10 years. So it didn't just happen last night or yesterday. 5 to 10 years, the body has been fighting this battle. And when the body finally loses the battle, it can't produce enough insulin, then the blood sugars begin rising and we get what we call diabetes. So when the body, talking about these substances, AMPK, when AMPK is fully activated, it improves all of these downstream things. So it reboots the body, which improves our insulin resistance. So all of a sudden we become insulin sensitive. It increases our glucose uptake in the muscles. So the muscles are more able to improve or pull in the sugar. So our blood sugars go down. And this is for non-diabetics as well as diabetics. So it increases the uptake of glucose into the muscles. It triggers fat oxidation, meaning that it says, hey, wait a minute. I don't need you to store anything. I need you to go over there and I need you to get some of that fat and break it down. Let's use that stuff for energy. It enhances mitochondrial function. So those batteries that are in the process of converting the stuff, the food stuff, into energy, it says, hey, I need you guys to function better. I need you guys, it enhances that function. And in fact, as we talked about in one of our episodes before, what it does is it increases the density of those mitochondria. So it helps produce more mitochondria. And so we feel better. And perhaps most importantly, it blocks fat storage and promotes fat usage. Come on. I want that. So this is metabolic reprogramming in action. This is what's going on. This is in real time. So dysfunctional metabolism and all of these processes, their goal is to get everything working right again. And so when that AMPK comes out, it's like having a computer, and you know you've had computers or even your cell phone where things just weren't going quite well. And what did you do? Or when you call the tech support, or when somebody talks to me, because my background is computers, I tell them the first thing to do, okay, let's shut it down, let's reboot it. Let's start it over. And so when AMPK comes out, it basically reboots the system and it resets the process. And so all of those things that you know of as dysfunctional metabolism begin to improve. Now the question is, why doesn't it stay there? Because we go back to the things we were doing before. And that gets the process going all over again. And so at some point it got to reboot. And if we keep doing that, what happens is the process becomes more strained, more dysfunctional, and ultimately leads to the disease processes that we're talking about. Okay? And then at this phase, and we've talked about some of these things, so autophagy, inflammation, and hormonal healing, right? So let's go deeper into this whole repair process, this whole repair mode that we're in. So autophagy, at 56 hours, autophagy is fully active. This is that cellular, that spring cleaning that the body goes through, right? Your body is breaking down misfolded proteins. It's removing damaged mitochondria. It's recycling cellular debris. It enhances our immune function. So now this is a protective mechanism. It's why fasting may improve markers of aging, improve cancer risk, improve neurodegeneration, improve those neurodegenerative diseases that we talk about? Because the body in this phase, in this process, is about, it's kind of like, think about Pac-Man. You remember Pac-Man? Yeah. So Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man, boom, boom, they're going around chopping up stuff. Those little beads that were in the show, in the game. Think of your body sending out now little Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man and saying to them, I want you to go and I want you to identify damaged, broken, misfolded, misshapen, damaged mitochondria. I want you to gobble them up. And when you gobble them up, we're going to take all of that stuff that you gobbled up, we're going to send it down the road to a recycling bin, a recycling plant. And that plant is going to take all that stuff, is going to create new muscles, new cells, new nerves, new protein, and we're going to send it back to you, and it's going to be better than it was before. Right? It's kind of like that when they do the $6 million man? Right? We can rebuild him. We can make him better, stronger, faster. Right? So it's taking all that stuff and it's making it better. When that happens, think of the cleanup that's going on. Right? So that's number one. The autophagy is happening. And that sets the body up for improved regulation of metabolism. Inflammation drops. So fasting also lowers systemic inflammation. It reduces something called TNF alpha and interleukin 6. These are pro-inflammatory processes that are in the body. It enhances antioxidant defenses. So the body, and people talk about vitamin C and other antioxidants. Well, your body has a natural antioxidant ability. And when we fast, fasting enhances that process so that you are able to fight now things that you may not have been able to fight before. Germs, bacteria, viruses that come into your system. The body sees them and the antioxidants go into defense. It improves endothelial function. Well, this is a good one. So endothelial function, what does that mean? Well, I want you to think of your blood vessels kind of like a hose. And the epithelium is the outside of the hose, right? The outside surface of the hose. But the endothelium is the inside surface of the hose, right? Where the water coming through. Well, one of the problems that we see in coronary artery disease, in vascular disease, is that the inside vessel of that hose, it becomes dysfunctional. So because the blood pressure is high, because there's inflammatory markers that are going through, because the blood sugars are high, because we have all these other toxic substances that are there, what happens is the inside hose becomes damaged. There's a nick here, and there's a nick there, and there's a nick here, and there's a nick there as you go through the hose. This is happening in your vessels. And when that happens, the body tries to fix it. So think of your body sending out some little, the guys who work on the roads. So it has a bunch of guys that come out and they're working on the road, and it tries to fix that nick, and it fixes that nick over there, and it fixes this nick over here, and it fixes that nick over here. Well, how does it fix it? What it does is really it coats it. So it's not like if you have a tear in your, maybe it is like you having a tear in your shirt. And you go and you take a needle and thread and you sew it together, right? Well, if you look at that shirt, right, and compare that spot where you hemmed it or where you fixed it to the rest of it, it has a little hump. It may not be big, but you could tell there's something there. And that's what happens in the vessel. Because the body tries to repair it, there's a little hump. And so that part of the vessel sticks out a little bit more. And so as things are coming by that are supposed to just be able to slide by, what happens? They get stuck. And now you have a hump from the damage, and then you have some piece of particle, whatever it may be, that got stuck onto the wall. Well, if that's stuck there, something else is coming through the vessel that's supposed to be able to just go through, and it gets stuck. And after a while, the things get so stuck, and that spot becomes thicker and thicker and thicker, and eventually, because it's gotten so thick, things aren't able to go through anymore. So when we are fasting and the inflammation is going down, right? That inflammation stops the damage to the vessels. And because the damage is going down, then the possibility of having to repair it goes down, things getting stuck on it goes down, and the possibility that the vessel becomes so thick, or the inside becomes so thin, actually, that blood can't flow, and we have a heart attack, we have stroke, we have pain. All of those are signs that there's something going on in the vessel. So when we fast, it improves that endothelial function. If you're dealing with chronic inflammation, like insulin resistance, right? That's linked there. You get joint pain, brain fog, you get obesity. You're like, I just don't feel well. You don't know why. There's something going on, and I can't. You don't know. I just don't. I feel out of sorts. At 56 hours, yeah, this is a window for relief. Fasting provides that. Then there's hormonal balance, right? And we've talked about cortisol before. Cortisol begins to normalize. We live in a space of chronic stress. We live in a space of chronic fatigue, both of which causes cortisol levels to go up. And cortisol, as you know, is that hormone that goes out and raises the blood sugar, because cortisol is a stress hormone. And when we're stressed, the body says, I need energy. Energy in the body is called sugar. And so the body goes, or glucose, the body goes out and it finds glucose. So if your cortisol is continually elevated or constantly elevated, then you have a higher blood sugar than you normally should have. And that leads to increased insulin. So hormonal balance. So cortisol begins to normalize. Leptin resistance improves. Leptin, remember, leptin is that hormone that says, I'm no longer hungry. And there is something called leptin resistance, where your body's producing leptin, but the leptin goes to the brain and it's not able to fully connect with the brain and let the brain know that you want to stop eating. So your brain now, when we're fasting, leptin resistance improves. Your brain begins to hear the fullness of the signal that is being sent. Remember, by the way, it takes 20 minutes for the signal from your body, from your stomach, to get to the brain that says, hey, stop eating. So one of the reasons for eating slowly, which we talk about in our full review of fasting. Thyroid function may become more efficient. Remember, thyroid is that process or that hormone, the thyroid hormone or thyroid gland is responsible for helping with metabolism. So if the thyroid slows down, when people say, oh, my metabolism is sluggish, when thyroid function slows down, when your body slows down its ability to respond to the thyroid, then people put on weight. When they put on weight, then our insulin levels can be dysfunctional. Our energy levels go down. Sometimes we'll have difficulty with skin, nail, hair, libido for women, for men, menstrual cycles for women. All of that becomes dysregulated. Our skin is dry, our hair is brittle, our nails are brittle. All of that happens because of dysfunctional thyroid. And when we fast, those thyroid hormones become more efficient due to the reduced stress load. Now the body can say, okay, let me put my energy into just functionally living. I don't have to adapt to all the stress that's out there. So your entire hormonal orchestra is returning to normal. So what are the measurable outcomes of this stage that I'm in? If you're fasting with me or considering a fast, 24 hours, 36 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, here's what we expect around 56 hours. Number one, we expect that glucose levels are between 70 to 90. Right? Glucose levels are between 70 to 90. And when we looked at my numbers, right? So glucose levels, we expect those to be 70 to 90. And sometimes they're lower. Boom, there you go. Right? 69 or 66. I'm looking at that upside down. Right? We're expecting that there are no spikes or crashes. There's metabolic calm. We're not seeing big jumps up here. We're not seeing, right? It's just there. It's fluctuating. And you see that. It is going 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, right? Even I look at my other monitor, that's what it's showing. That those numbers are pretty consistent. Ketones are between 1.5 and 3.0. We're in deep ketosis now. And this deep ketosis suppresses the hunger and it fuels my brain. I'm making connections now. I'm seeing, it's kind of like my brain is on supercharged energy. And you begin making connections during fasting that you didn't make before. So I've mentioned before to somebody, if you are having a problem, if you have some issue that you can't find the brain power or the cells or the things that you're go start fasting and work on the problem while you're fasting. Right? So it suppresses hunger and it fuels your brain. You get mental clarity because beta hydroxybutyrate acts like rocket fuel for the neurons. And many people report zero brain fog, even after 2 days without food. They actually say they feel energetic. They feel like their brain is on fire, like they're making connections now that they couldn't make before. So we're talking about what does it look like? What does it feel like? What are we expecting in this period? We're expecting fat loss and muscle protection. Fat loss and muscle protection. And that's what you saw when we looked at my weight, right? 185 pounds, 185.6 pounds. So we're expecting now that my body is using fat as the dominant energy source. And if it's using fat as the dominant energy source, I'm expecting that my weight is going down. And I tell people for every day that you fast, you should expect between 0.5 to about 1.2 pounds of weight loss. So growth hormone levels are elevated. This preserves muscles while you are fasting. The fat is being lost, but it preserves our muscle. And this is a concern for a lot of people. They say, when I fast, hey, am I going to lose muscle? No, fasting is not the same as just cutting back on food. When people starve themselves, when people are just cutting back on food, then they will have loss of muscle. But in fasting, you're actually supercharging your growth hormone, and that growth hormone is responsible for maintaining muscles. So what else should you expect? Appetite regulation. So ghrelin patterns begin to change. So your body now no longer has that dysfunction with the satiety and the hunger hormone. And so that begins to stabilize. You're no longer controlled by the hunger. You are in control of it. And so all of this is with the idea that what we're doing is we are righting our metabolism. The body is in the process of saying, hey, look, I understand that we have dysfunction, but give me the chance, give me the ability, give me space, give me time so that I can begin making the changes that need to happen so that I can do what you need me to do. This is your body talking to you. To be functionally better. Remember, you are not in breakdown. You are in realignment. Fasting doesn't destroy your metabolism, it restores it. At 56 hours, your body is not starving, it is strategizing. It's in cleaning mode. It's cleaning up the house. It's making you insulin sensitive again. It's restoring your ability to tap into the stored energy from the fat. It's regulating hormones. It's reducing inflammation. This is not theory. This is not speculation. This is what homeostasis is all about. This is homeostasis in motion. And the best part is, you didn't need a prescription. Come on now. All you needed was just space. You needed consistency. And you needed a commitment to change. So I am a little over 56 hours now in this week's fast. And right now, my body is redoing, it's rebooting. It is looking at all the places, all the things we just talked about. This is what's going on within me. This is what's going on inside me. And you can do the same thing. Fasting is it's an amazing tool that we use as part of the health action plan that says, okay, what are the steps that I need to take? What are the things I need to do to improve my metabolism? How do I write this? How do I turn the ship around? How do I get rid of those diseases? You want to do that? Start fasting. An amazing process, an amazing tool that you can use to set yourself for metabolic success. We're going to come back. We're going to talk more about other aspects of the health action plan, but this is an amazing one. If you're not fasting, you want to make sure that you join and that you're fasting as part of your daily, maybe weekly routine. And we recommend that everyone should be able to work on fasting at least one 24-hour period once a week. That is the start. So I encourage you to do that, to join in as we work on fasting. So if you've not joined us yet, right? So there are people who are out there and you joined us on day one and you're still with us. Yay, yay, yay. I see some of our community members who are there. Maybe you fasted on the first day and you did it 24 hours. Yay, I love that. Maybe you started yesterday at 24 hours and you've now joined us for this part of the day of the fast and you're doing a 24 hours. You're at 48 hours. I applaud you. If you've not started yet, join me, right? Join me. We're in the third day now. We're heading to 72 hours and we're going to do our fasting review and we'll break the fast where we talk about how to get into a fast, how to get through the fast, and of course, how to break the fast. We're talking about how to prepare it, how to navigate it, how to break the fast with metabolic intelligence. Join me. We're going to be doing a check-in tomorrow, and we will walk through that process. Here, we educate. Here, we encourage, and here we empower. That's what we do right here. Let's go ahead and let's see. We got some community members out there. Let's see what we got. Let's see. So Jennifer, we said hi to Jennifer, and so Lynn, what's up, Lynn? How do we know insulin levels? Is it equal to triglycerides? That's a good question. I'm gonna grab onto that, Lynn. I'm gonna hold on because I got another question. We're gonna hop back up a little while and answer. Hello, Dr. Woode. Thank you for the support that you are welcome, Lynn. So let me go ahead. I'm going to pop up and let's see. So Steve had a question. Let's go back to Steve's. He said, my glucose has dropped to 51 during the night. How low should it be before I'm concerned? It was about 8 hours into a fast. So here's the interesting thing about blood sugars, right? And you guys saw, let me go back over here and pull up. So this is what my blood sugar is right now. It's 66. And so an interesting thing about the process is if you are in ketosis, right? If you're in ketosis, then your body is no longer using sugar as energy. And that's a tough one for people to get. The body is no longer using sugar as energy. It's actually using ketones. So the fact that my blood sugar is low doesn't concern me because my body is in ketosis. And you saw my ketones was it 1.6, I think? Yeah, 1.6. If I were taking medication, and the medication now doesn't know that my blood sugar is and in your case you said 51. The medication doesn't know that, and so when we are on medication, then we are concerned when the blood sugar drops, because the medication will continue to make you drop, and it will make you feel that as a drop, right? So neuroglycopenic or hypoglycemia, as people say. If you're not on medication and you're fasting and you're in ketosis, that's less of a concern. I hope that answers the question for you, Steve. All right, so let's go back over. So that was Steve's question. Lynn says, how do we know insulin levels? And so, Lynn, there's no way out in the public for us to know insulin levels. That's something that has to be measured. And we usually do that in the lab. There are two ways to do that. For my patients who are not on medications, then we can actually measure the insulin level. Right? Well, if you're not on insulin, let me say it that way. If you're not on insulin, we can measure insulin levels, and that gives us a good marker of what it is. But for people who are on medication, or we want to look at a different marker, there's something called the C-peptide. And the C-peptide is a component. Let's see how to. If you think about a banana, right? So the banana has the peel, and then it has the actual banana on the inside. They come as a group. But in order to get the banana on the inside, you've got to take the peel off. Okay? So ideally, if you walked into this room and you saw 8 banana peels on the floor, you would say, hey, somebody ate 8 bananas. So the banana peels are a marker of what the banana is. So the C-peptide is the same thing. The C-peptide is made with the insulin, with what we call insulin, and then it's broken apart, and the body uses the insulin, but the C-peptide is still floating around. So I can look at the C-peptide and estimate how much insulin somebody's making. And so that's usually that's usually a lab that we do, and there's not really a way out in the public for that to happen now. It would be great, just like we are able to measure ketones, it would be great for us to get a device that measures insulin. I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for that to come through. And then Lynn says, hello, Dr. Wood. Thank you for the support, for this support. Lynn, you are so welcome. Awesome. All right. So for everyone, as you hear me say all the time, remember, everything that we do is built on our Triple E formula for success. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. That is the crux. Whatever space you're in, everything comes through education. The mindset, the change, the understanding of how the body works, the understanding of insulin, the understanding of metabolism, the understanding of dysfunction, and how we improve that dysfunction, all comes through education. It is the space. That is why we did the domains of health. Because unless you are in that mindset, unless you are in that space, you can do anything for a little while. But we're not looking for something that you can do for a week or a month or a day or a year. We're looking for something that we can do for the rest of our lives. And in order for us to get that, we have to have the education. It has to start there. We educate, we empower. Empowerment comes, like the health action plan that we are talking about. Empowerment comes when we infuse action into the education. Because education is just that. It's some information that you got. It's some data that somebody said. It's a video that you watched. It's some class that you went to. It's some lecture that you heard. That's what it is. But it does not take life until you infuse it with your behavior. And so the health action plan is a tool that we use to say, okay, this is the blueprint. This is where I'm going to put my hat. This is the functional metabolic arm, the functional health arm of limitless living. This is what we're doing. So we educate, we empower, and we encourage. And I'm going to tell you, there's nothing like having people around you. Like when I go live on, and we've been doing that randomly now for this week. We didn't do it last. This is the first week we've done that. I've enjoyed that because I get a chance to talk to you in real time while we're going through this process. I get to see you. I get to hear you. You get to see me. You get to see what's going on a daily basis. Because when I come here and I'm on the show, this is great. But what's going on at work? What's going on at 1 o'clock in the afternoon? What's going on at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? And yesterday, I think I walked while we did our check-in. So you got to see me doing that, fasting and walking in real time. Right? Remember, fasting and walking, by the way, the first tier of the health action plan. So we educate, we empower, and we encourage. I encourage you, when you come, don't just show up and not add action to what we are talking about. Join the 100-Day Walk to Consistency. Join the Strength Strategy and Mindset. Those are the series that we've done in the morning. When you're here, let's join the fasting. When you see me go live, say, okay, I'm going to fast with you. I'm going to start on Monday. I'm going to do my 24 hours. Or I'm going to join you for 36 hours. Or whatever number of hours, let's do it together. And the community that we have is an amazing group of folks. And you'll see that people are out there and they're getting amazing benefits from what we're doing. Okay? So join us. And then don't keep it to yourself. Remember, limitless living is not just about, okay, let me get better. Limitless living is also about how do I improve the community around me. You know family members, you've got friends, you've got people at your job, at your church, at your community center, you have your doctor's office, and all of those people need to know that there can be a difference. They don't have to keep having the blood pressure issues and the cholesterol issues and the amputations and the blindness and the kidney issues and the diabetes. It doesn't have to happen. And you can be a voice that says, okay, I know something that we can do. Let's go do this together. And walk with them. Form yourself a limitless living gang out there in your community. Right? Create your own group. And let's walk through this process and let's be healthy together. I'm always excited when I'm in this space with you and always excited when you come through. And I am excited to see the successes that you're having as you are walking this path with us. We will be back tomorrow as we continue our fasting, where we'll do our complete review of fasting, getting into the fast, walking through the fast, and of course breaking the fast. We'll be breaking the fast here together on the show together, so you get to see what I'm going to eat. If you have some suggestions, go ahead and drop those in the chat. Send me a message, and we'll try to see if we can accommodate that. We'll be back on Saturday night at 9 o'clock for a video from the vault. Sunday morning at 6 a.m. for This Week in Review, and then we'll be right back here, Dwain Woode MD Live, Monday at 7 p.m. Central, as we continue walking through the health action plan that's powered through limitless living. And remember, limitless living is the platform that we're using to say, okay, what are we going to do? What is my North Star? What is the thing that I am wanting to be? What is my metabolic plan? Limitless Living says that I'm not allowing anything to prevent me from doing that. I'm presenting my best self, my best health, and my best plans for my life. I'm creating the life we've always wanted. And that's what this is all about. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Woode with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level, and create the life you've always wanted. And let's go out there and let's live a limitless life. Good night, everybody. We'll see you at the next episode and our check-in tomorrow.